Speaking of Calgary, let's go to Winnipeg. The voice of the Stampeders, Mark Stephen, joined us. And before I get to the nuts and bolts and the hard questions, not that they're that hard, Marcus, but what's the big story for you in this game tonight at Princess Auto Field?
Yeah, getting the name right, that'll be number one. But no, number two, I think as far as the Stampeders are concerned, it's pulling the receiving core together after some very tough injury news this week, and also seeing who's going to work as far as the secondary goes. I think they've got their starters established, but the others behind them, who are the playmakers, I guess we're going to find out today.
Well, the biggest story of the week out of Stamps land that I saw was the injury to Malik Henry. Obviously, it's the biggest story, but I mean, he didn't play much of last year either, I'll be honest. Can you miss what you didn't have, A, and B, or is his absence a reason that maybe Jake Maier has not met the expectations that have been set out for him?
Yeah, you can miss it. Between him and a couple of other guys, Jalen Philpott and also Clark Barnes, who missed the bulk of last year. They didn't play very much. Three of them played only about 12 games combined. Yeah, you can miss it. I think that's one of the reasons. Not making excuses, but it certainly is one of the reasons why Jake Maier had an inconsistent season last year, because, they signed Malik Henry, at the end of 2022 to a 3-year pact. And I would simply say that they were building the offense around him, because I don't know how many non-quarterbacks get 3-year deals, but he had one. Unfortunately, he hasn't been on the field last year, and he won't be on the field this year.
Yeah, well, aside from the quarterback position, which is the biggest question by a mile for the Stamps, what are the other questions here as you're a week away from kicking off the season?
Well, who's going to fit into the spot vacated by Derek Wigan, moving to Montreal as a free agent? That was along the defensive line. Right now, Quadwell Bohan at draft 23 seems to have the edge in that particular spot. How are they going to reconfigure the receiving core without, the anticipated play of Malik Henry there? And also just what's going on in the secondary. They only had 9 interceptions, the defensive backs collectively all last year. That's not good enough, so they've got to be better, and we'll see if they do ball hockey.
What kind of lineup are the Stampeders fielding tonight in Winnipeg?
I'll say two things. On defense, it's a lot of hopefuls and prospects. On offense, a few more of the regulars are there as well. So unbalanced, though, an awful lot of established players, such as place kicker Rene Paredes and Sean McEwen, a veteran offensive lineman, and Brandon Dozier. They're starting safety, and a couple of linebackers, Awe and Judge, are both home. So it's pretty heavy on, particularly on the defensive side. Hopefuls are going to try and leave the best impression.
Jim Barker was with us last hour, and he said as far as the Bombers go, he goes, they're dressing nobody. Obviously, you've got your depth chart. I haven't looked at the Bomber depth chart. I'm not broadcasting the game. What's your take of the blue and gold side of things tonight?
Well, that's accurate. They aren't playing anybody. Of course, they've got the short week this week. Remember, everybody except Saskatchewan plays today. Then they have the roster cut down, and then the season opens up on Thursday, and it opens up right here in Winnipeg with Montreal here in a Grey Cup rematch. So obviously for the established players, Stanley Bryant, Oliveira, so many others, Zach Caleros, the focus is Thursday, not tonight. But for others, obviously there are some that are still trying to make a spot, but they've got the short week, so I totally get what they're doing and why they're doing it.
Jeff, the Stamps fan, writes in and he says, if there's a better play-by-play and color doer than Mark Stephen and Greg Pedersen, I don't know it. No, there isn't. You're right, Jeff, the Stamps fan. I will certainly go along with that. But I will say this, Mark. Last year, you guys left it really late, as you know, and you overcame the Riders down the stretch to make it into the playoffs. And I felt that was a dangerous game to gamble. But your guys like Ryan Thelwell and all those guys around town, Jabari Arthur, said, that's what we do. Not a big deal. Is that the plan this year, Mark? Or what? I feel like it's a dangerous game to play.
Well, let's not kid anyone here. 6-12 is very, very rarely an entry ticket to the playoffs, right? And they can't count on Saskatchewan losing 7 consecutive games to make the playoffs. So, obviously that's why they went out and made some moves. They signed DeMario Houston in the defensive backfield. Randall they picked up from Montreal. And, some players moved on. They just weren't good enough last year. they didn't come to terms with Derek Wigan or Ryan Sevier, people like that. So, they had to make some changes. So, no, let's not kid anyone. 6-12 extended their playoff streak, but it's not a long-term successful strategy, I'll tell you that.
Do you have a thought on, do you do a projected win total? What do you think they're going to do this year? And do you have a West Division prediction? Now would be the time to give it since the season hasn't started yet.
Yeah. Well, I would say the Stampeders are certainly right now 9-9. I think that's where they are. I would think Winnipeg is almost identical to last year, is a hair ahead of the BC Lions. One thing that does worry me a bit about Winnipeg, though, is their age. They've got a lot of great, I call them playing Hall of Famers on the team, but eventually they're going to go over that other side of the hill there. And Stanley Bryant's still great. Adam Big Hill's on the sidelines. They've got some others, but if everybody stays healthy, they're capable of winning it. BC not too far behind. The Stampeders next. Saskatchewan, I know Craig Dickinson was a convenient problem area for everybody to focus on, but they've got a few other things they have to do better as well to get better. The penalty totals were way up there. Corey may secure that. I don't know. And as far as Edmonton goes, I know they've been tenacious and made some great high-profile free agent signings. I mean, nowhere in the league is facing more heat than Edmonton right now. But I've got to see it from Edmonton. I'm tired of hearing about they've done this, they've got all these great players, etc. I got to see it before I can buy into the Elk.
Oh, God, you're right, Jeff. Mark, you're right. Jeff, the Stamps fan, writes that he says he's predicting an 11-win Stamps season. That's from Jeff. But I'll tell you what, my friend Mark, I was with your guy, Don Hewitt, the professor. You talk about Edmonton in the talk. Here in Sask, they're measuring the width of the streets for the Grey Cup parade, how big the floats can be. It's a Rider Nation thing, as you know. What are you getting out of your neighbors to the east? What are you seeing?
Well, first of all, they'll have a healthy quarterback, you'd like to think. That would be number one. Lose sight of the fact that, when Trevor Harris went down, certainly things changed for the Saskatchewan Roughriders, not in a good way. I mean, Jake Dolegala tried, but he went 2-7 last year. As far as other moves, they have made some good moves, and they are a good team. But, how good are their special teams? I'm not sure, and that may hold them back. How good are they at, being able to fix their penalty totals? They had way too many last year. Let's wait and see about that. So I need to hear it, see it from them, and not just talk about it.
Bomber Boy writes in and he says, dreamers can dream. Here's the thing. You would know Corey Mace better than anybody. They don't make him better, right? Solid guy. We believe he's going to be a great head coach. But it's not just him. I just feel like they've put the whole basket, all their eggs in the Mace basket and said, go do it. And that's a lot to put on a guy.
Yep, I would agree. I would agree. And he'll certainly make a difference. He'll bring in his own people, his own thoughts, his own everything. But you're right, it's not all about him as well. So, let's not lose sight of the fact Trevor Harris is 38 and coming off an injury. I mean, I hope he can do it. I'd like to think that he can, but we also can't. If we can call Winnipeg possibly facing age, we got to say the same thing about Trevor Harris in Saskatchewan. I hope he makes it back, but time is going to tell.
All right, and I can't let you go because I don't know when I'm going to talk to you again. Hopefully it's soon, but is it officially the first season of the post-John Huff-Nagel era? Or is Huff around? Is he out? Is he kind of in? What is it?
Well, he's kind of in, and he should be in. I don't have any problem. He is around, yes, no question. But, he's sort of a, quote, consultant. But, he's around. How much is he doing day to day? He's around, but he's not around as much as he was as coach and GM. And guess what? I think it's tremendous that he's around to be able to, bring his knowledge and expertise to things. But he's around, yeah, no question. But that's his role. He's supposed to consult, and he's doing a bit of consulting. Sure.
Oh, cool. Hey, do whatever you want. He's a Hall of Famer. I'm just saying, I feel like we've had 4 announcements or press conferences that Huff's done, and he's still there every year. So I just wondered the scene. All right, Mark, have a great call.
Well, it was never the intent for him to
I hope to ride off into the sunset, yeah. I hope to see you in a stadium here soon.
See what happens. It's going to be interesting. Looking forward to it, and away we go very soon here.
Exactly. We wait a long time for this, and it's finally here. Thanks, Mark. Mark Stephen, the voice of the Calgary Stampeders from QR77 Calgary.